Yay! Welcome everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome back to Ginger Runner Live. Tonight is a very fun, exclusive, very important episode of Ginger Runner Live, episode number 122. Tonight I will be joined by a wonderful human being who has an incredible story, is incredibly kind, and that story, we're going to talk a lot about it tonight. It's incredibly inspiring. And just proves that if you never give up, you can pretty much accomplish anything. My guest tonight is Brian Morrison. We're going to be talking a lot about Western States 100, which occurred this last weekend. Last week's show, we were talking about the predictions. We had Eric Schranz from Ultra Runner Podcast on the episode, and we talked about who we thought was going to take the title of Western States and our top 10 picks and stuff like that. It was very exciting. And this last weekend, the race occurred, and Kim and I were there, luckily, to document Brian's story, also document Sage Canada's story,
Yep.
And we witnessed some incredible things out there. We're going to talk all about it, and we're going to talk with our incredible guest tonight, Mr. Brian Morrison, all about his journey to his Western States 100 this last weekend as well. So sit back, relax, grab your adult beverage. Where's mine? Where's yours?
Where's mine?
We do have them this week. And get ready to enjoy Ginger Runner Live, episode number 122.
Ginger Runner.
Yay! Welcome everybody. Happy Monday to you. It's like getting the family back together, except after this weekend, Kim and I slept very little. Last night was kind of glorious. I think our sleep last night was almost 11 or 12 hours of just solid sleeping, because Kim and I were at Western States 100. We wore already. My brain is mush. I'm a little sick. I'm a little under the weather. I'm congested and kind of my body is just wrecked. I didn't even run the race, so I'm a little under the weather. My voice is a little off, and that's pretty much it. But of course, my God, my brain is garbage.
As always, I'm here in the chat room. So if you guys have questions, just ask them in the chat room, and I'll either reply in the chat room or relay the questions to Ethan and our wonderful guest, Brian.
Yeah, hopefully my brain mush doesn't mess this show up too heartily. Our guest tonight has become a good friend of ours here in recent months and weeks, and he has probably one of the most incredible stories that I've ever been told or heard of, especially coming out of Western States 100. It dates back to 2006. I want to hear all about his story tonight. And before we even get to that, he recently did an interview on Ultra Runner Podcast, which is hosted by Eric Schranz, who I had on last week. The interview is fantastic. I highly encourage you to go check out that interview. I'll actually be putting a link to that interview in the description of this video. It goes into far more depth than I think we will about certain parts of this story, because we have a lot more to talk about this year's race. My guest tonight is Mr. Brian Morrison. Yay! Wait, there he is. Yay!
There he is.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
We're great. You're doing great. I asked you earlier before the show, like, how your legs doing, all this kind of stuff. And what did you say?
They're doing good today. Last night I went to bed. They were wrecked. The miracle of sleep, I suppose.
Which is crazy, because you worked your ass off this weekend. And I'm like, oh man, Brian's probably going to be wrecked for a week, and just kind of seeing in what sort of shape you were coming into some of those aid stations, like, oh, this is going to leave a mark for a couple days. But you're fine, and you're at work.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's actually good to be up and moving around. I mean, I've got a little bit of the mushy brain myself, so bear with me if I stumble along the way too.
I think our audience is very forgiving, figuring that I host the show every week. I think they're very forgiving as it is. People are already commenting, I can see it in the chat room, about the wall of shoes behind you.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Can you explain where you are and kind of your connection to this location?
Yeah, well, I'm in the basement of our store, Fleet Feet, Seattle. Our storeroom, I guess it works out all right for a bunch of runners because we're all fit, but we have to go up and down stairs to get shoes. We're in an old building on Capitol Hill, and so that's where I'm at. It's the bunker.
How is going up and down stairs for you today?
It's gotten better as the day's gone on. So, I really think there's something to be said. Like, as nice as it sounds to just be in bed or laying on a couch all day, getting the blood moving and muscles working and all that. It's good.
So Brian, you are the owner of Fleet Feet Seattle, which is located up on Capitol Hill. Can people come to the shop right now? Are you open?
Yes, we are open. We're open till 8 o'clock. So we got another almost 2 hours.
Seattle, go to Fleet right now and just start screaming, because he's in the basement, but just start screaming or something in the store, because I'd love to hear a live interaction of someone upstairs or something that Brian has to go handle. Like, I got to leave the show because there's shouting happening upstairs. Well, it's an honor to have you on this show. This is Brian's first time on the episode, but we should have had you on years ago because your story is incredible, man. It's super inspiring.
For the call, I don't know.
It just sorry I didn't call, man. I'm so sorry. But I think this there's no better time than now, because everything is it's relevant. It just some stuff just happened, which I think is pretty crucial to your story, which I think is just fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about your connection to the Western States 100 and what occurred in 2006? Because I think this is such a great start to this story. It's not a great moment, but it's a great start to the story.
Yeah, and I'll put everybody on the same page if there's people watching that aren't familiar with your story.
Which could very well be true, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try and summarize it as concisely as I can. So I started working at Seattle Running Company in 2004. And Scott Jurek wasn't working in the store at that time, but he was working in the same building as a physical therapist. And he was in and out of the store all the time. And I was getting pretty into trail ultra running. Obviously, he was kind of like at the height of his dominance at that point. Right. We started to train more and more together, became good friends. And in 2005, just before his final and seventh win at Western States, we did a long training run together. Cougar to Squawk, it's a local 40-mile training run. And on the way out to the run, he basically told me that he thought that I could win Western States in 2006. He knew I was running it because it was a two-time loser rule at that point. So I had applied in 04 and 05, had not gotten drawn, and then knew I was going to be in for 06. Scott knew that it's not that he thought I was going to beat him, but he knew that that was going to be his last year in 05. And he proposed to me that he felt like he wanted to pass the torch and that I was somehow, worthy of that honor to go win Western States. So that was huge for me to hear that from Scott. I mean, you can imagine, and I really hadn't done anything in hundreds at that point to justify being able to go win Western States. But Scott saw something in me. I'm not sure what it was, but he did, and I'm glad he did. And so he went and won in 05, and then I want to say October, November, we really kind of started training. And it wasn't just Scott and I. Justin Engel was living in Seattle at the time, and he was running Western States that year. Jeff Phillips, another local guy. So there was a good crew of us that trained 2-3 days a week. And I went to the race in 06 with Scott pacing me, and was in 4th place until Forest Hill. And then by the river, I had caught the 3 front runners, and kind of everything was going to plan. And I don't know. I mean, I guess so I got to not Forest Hill, to No Hands Bridge, and the decision had been made to make a pacing change. And another pacer took over at that point, and it seems to me in my mind, ran a little harder from that point, No Hands Bridge into the finish than Scott and I had been running for the past 30 plus miles. And I started running scared for the first time all day. Not that it ever felt easy, but I felt like Scott and I were running at a pace that was pretty manageable. And I definitely felt like it ratcheted up a little bit when Jason took over. And by the time I got to the track, things kind of fell apart. I don't really know how to explain it. It was a sensation which hopefully I'll never feel again, which I'd never felt leading up to it. But that the finish line, when I came into the stadium, it looked like it might as well have been another 100 miles away. Just there was no way that my legs were going to go anymore. I fell once and was able to get up, I think, the first time under my own power, and then don't remember much of anything at all after that. So yeah, it's just like I mentioned in the Ultra Runner podcast. It's crazy to think how close it was, and yet also how far away when it was all said and done. Like people always ask, like what if they had just left you there on the track? Could they have splashed water on you? Could they have kicked you? I mean, who knows? I don't know. Since I don't even remember it really, at least I remember coming into the track, but I have no recollection of the finish line crossing.
Right.
So I was pretty far gone.
And then as you are rounding the track, collapsing and basically not remembering much, what in first place still, did you feel like you were being chased really closely by second place, or was there anything that was pushing you towards the finish line, or had your body just given up on you? And what happened? Yeah,
so I was it's interesting, and I guess my splits don't even exist anymore, so it would be interesting to go back and really check it out. But Leah, Scott's then wife, as I understand it, based on what Andrea has told me, and my mom was there, my sister, made the call to basically say that the Graham Cooper, who was the winner, was closer than he really was, kind of as a way to spur me on a little bit. And unfortunately, I think that decision backfired, because I rolled into No Hands Bridge, and maybe he really was, but I don't think it's the case. I was told he was 2 minutes behind me. And in all actuality, the gap when it was all said and done was, I think, 12 minutes. So I don't know how far back he was there, but I don't think it was just 2 minutes. So I did start to run scared, because at that point, that's the last thing I wanted to do was, lose the position I was in with less than 3 miles to go. Right.
So as you're rounding the track, you're unable to do it under your own power at this point.
Yes.
You were, it's a DNF. What ended up occurring, if you kind of want to just explain like how they told you, or I guess what happened, because there is video online on YouTube that you can watch of Brian's finish, and it's difficult to watch because Brian is collapsing at the line and still crossing the finish line. So what was the end decision there, Brian?
Oh, so so I left the stadium being told by everyone there that I had won the race. And I actually went to the hospital into ER. And the thing that was interesting is I was in ER, and the doctor didn't really know what was going on with me, but he kept talking about my kidneys and potentially being on dialysis and all this horrible stuff that thankfully never occurred. But the whole time it didn't really matter to me, because I had just won Western States as far as I was concerned. So it sounds ignorant now to say that, but at 27, that was, like pre-kids and everything, like that felt like, well, who cares if I've got kidney issues? At least I won the biggest ultra race in the world. At least as I saw it. And so then it wasn't until the next morning, actually, when Scott came to visit me at the hospital. He was the one who broke the news to me that I actually had been disqualified or DNF'd. I still honestly don't really know how it stands. But whether it was a DNF or a disqualification, Graham was given the win, which I totally support, actually. People are always surprised, but I wasn't going to get to the finish line under my own power, given the circumstances. So I'm going to move around here a little. I've got to plug my computer in. So
yeah, sure. I believe after talking to some of the race officials this last weekend to get interviews and stuff for the film that we're working on, it was not a DQ because they didn't want any sort of tarnish to the record. They believed that it was in fact a DNF at mile 99, because that last mile was what you were unable to do under your own power. They felt like a DNF was much more fitting for the situation rather than a disqualification. That being said, this was in 2006. You were not given the win at the 2006 Western States 100, correct?
Correct. Yeah. You know, and I understand the that notion that somehow that I think Scott Jurek also was a proponent of a DNF as opposed to a DQ because that somehow that would you know, was, I guess, less honorable to have a disqualification than a DNF. But I'm actually more proud. I wish it was a disqualification. I think that's a more interesting story. And quite frankly, that's the way I tell the story, because I think I'm more proud of saying that I won Western States and was disqualified than to say that I DNF'd at mile 99. And the reality is that I went beyond Roby Point. So I don't know.
I totally get it, and I think that's probably a question that we'll talk about in the film. That for those of you who don't know, Brian allowed me permission to document his journey this last weekend, and it was awesome. I have a lot of footage to edit together, and that project will be edited probably later this summer or even probably fall, because I want you guys to get a really good product, and I'm very excited to do that. This is part of the story. Now, Brian, if you want to briefly talk about the next couple of years too, because it doesn't end at 2006, which I think is what's also very crazy.
Yeah. So I went back in 2007. You know, unfortunately, given sort of the circumstances in 2006, I feel like Scott and I, you know, our relationship kind of drifted apart a little bit. We were training less and less together. He took a lot of heat, I think, unnecessarily from the ultra community. Basically, like, how could Scott Jurek, you know, King of Western States, take this rookie and run him into the ground like that? And from my side of things, I didn't feel like people were giving me my due credit for all the hard work I'd put in. So he took a lot of flack from the ultra community. I got tired of hearing people say, you know, like, how could Scott have gotten him to this point, and basically just not acknowledging the fact that I had run my own 100 miles. I just happened to have Scott as a pacer. And there was just a lot of stress from 2006. And I think we both kind of drifted apart for a little while. And so in 2007, I started to train with a guy who's still one of my very best friends, Michael Sanders. And I love Michael, but I think we probably were training from a place of, I don't want to say anger, but definitely like with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. And I really wanted to go back to the race in 2007 and show people that, hey, you know, Scott wasn't the one that, like, I'm all due credit to Scott. I'm so thankful for everything I learned from him and the fact that he was a mentor for me. Yeah. And really everything I know about training came from Scott. But at the same time, I really wanted to go back in 2007 and show people that, hey, like, I'm talented too. And it wasn't just Scott that got me to that point, that I did it. So anyhow, Michael and I think, like I said, trained with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. Probably got a little overtrained. I wasn't as smart with training as I had been with Scott. And I went into the race really pretty sick, like with a virus that I just couldn't shake, and dropped early on that year at Dusty Corners. Then in 2008, I think I was actually, who knows, because I didn't get to race, but I think I was the fittest that I had been ever going into Western States. But unfortunately that year, the forest fires canceled the race. And I was sitting having dinner with my wife and my mom in Tahoe City. And we were just talking about picking Michael up from the airport because he was going to pace me. And he called me and he said, "Hey, why haven't you called me yet?" And I said, "Well, about what? I know I'm getting you tomorrow at the airport." And he said, "Well, the race got canceled." And I said, "Well, don't even mess around. Like, it's Wednesday night. Don't mess around about the race getting canceled." And he said, "No, you need to go back to the hotel and get online and call me back, but it's not happening." And sure enough, he was right. And I tell people this all the time. I don't think anyone actually believes me, but that was even more devastating to me than to not get to run in 2008 was more devastating than even the finish in 2006. So yeah, it was really tough. And because the race didn't happen in 2008, everyone got invited back in 2009. And I was already kind of on the downhill side of my excitement and enthusiasm to go back, but I figured, I have a spot, I'll go run again. And I had another terrible day, and actually a day very similar to the one I had this weekend. I just toughed it out a little bit more this weekend than I was able to do then, which makes a big difference when you're not racing to be competitive, which I still was trying to do in 2009.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat room as to what canceled the race in 2008. It was forest fires, and I believe those remains of that forest fire can still be seen. I believe it's the same one that occurred just past Robinson Flat, because I think we drive through that giant burn area.
I think you're right. I think it was near Robinson.
Yeah,
which is mile 30.
There's a huge
just open area of trees that are just crispy, and I imagine that's from 2008. I correct me if I'm wrong. Those who maybe are more familiar with the history, but so that's 4 years in a row. I'm sorry, 4 years in a row that Brian is unable to finish Western States. That sold me already. Like, this is incredible. Just having to deal with this back to back inability to get to the finish line, whether it's because of a DQ or because of a fire or because of sickness or nutrition. What went on in your head at this point, Brian, between 2010 and now 2016, and why you chose to reach out and hopefully start Western States again?
Yeah, it's something that's just gnawed at me really ever since 2006. The fact, and each year that went on beyond that, just the fact that I still didn't have a finish at Western States. And I know some other people. Well, in fact, I told Gordy Ainsley this. I saw him, which is really nice, at Rucky Chucky this year. But he came and spoke at a camp that Scott and Leah put on that I helped coach in 2006 at Michigan Bluff, just before my first Western States. And we're sitting around a campfire, and Gordy's there telling stories. And anyone that's ever talked to Gordy knows that, one, he's just like a mountain of a man, but he's a great storyteller and quite a character. And the thing that he said that really stuck with me was that not to let this race beat you, because if you would never shake that, basically. Like, it'll always haunt you.
Yeah.
And that definitely had been my own experience. And so yeah, it's really been I don't think there's a day that's gone by since 2006 when I have not thought about Western States. And I don't know if that's unique to my story. Maybe not, because I have a friend who's run Western States just.
We lost Brian. The internet somehow failed us. He was broadcasting live from his basement of his shop, so I was a little worried at first. Brian, hopefully he knows that he's been disconnected. I can email him in a second here as well, but I already told him that if the internet craps out, which it has for guests on the past of the show, he will just jump back in. So he knows the link, he has it to jump back into this chat. So hopefully he'll join us here in a second. But in the meantime, I know that we had a bunch of questions and stuff coming in from the chat room. If you want to, is there anything?
No, not without Brian here.
Oh, well, great.
Any questions for the guest?
Great.
Maybe you want to talk about some of the stories you're going to talk about.
You know what? Yeah, it's a good time. So there are a number of stories that came out of this year's Western States, and we were just about to get to Brian running this year. It's a pretty powerful story. It's pretty good. We'll wait for him to come back in. But there were a number of stories, and that's one thing that I have found with this race, and this was your first time there, that it's not just the front of the pack that has these incredible stories, though this year has a very interesting, incredible, and kind of devastating story as well. But also mid and back of the pack runners have incredible stories. Here, let's talk a little bit about some of them. First of all, in first place for a majority of the day, Jim Walmsley, an incredibly fast runner, basically from the start was leading the entire race, and very soon got well under course record pace. Every aid station that he would check into, we would check the Twitter and try to get updates, because there's very little signal out there on the course. And each time he'd come through an aid station, he would have shaved off another minute or two. It was incredible. And on his heels the entire day, Sage Canaday, who was running his very first 100 for, well, he ran UTMB last year. We've had him on the show and talked a bit about that. So this was his first 100 that he really just wanted to finish, but he also wanted to do really well and win. So hot on his heels was Sage Canaday, also on course record pace. So Jim is running at an incredible rate and just clobbering it. At mile 90, I want to say like 91 or 2, he doesn't take a sharp left-hand turn. He ends up going straight on this trail. And I guess a lot of people who have run Western States or the training runs know exactly what this turn is and how, you know, you couldn't miss it. Because Jim has never been on this course, never trained on the course, which is incredible also, that he's able to do this on a course that he's never seen. He doesn't take the turn, so he goes straight, which ends up dropping him straight down through a rock quarry onto Highway 49, which is a major thoroughfare through this course. There are pictures that were circulating on Twitter of Jim Walmsley standing on the side of Highway 49, just kind of like not knowing where to go or what to do. He was then passing photographer Matt Trappy, who's also been on the show before, good guy, was basically, Jim, you got to backtrack. You probably missed a turn. Find out. This is also after Jim almost gets swept down the American River at mile 70 at Rucky Chucky, not holding onto the rope as he's crossing the river, which they put, you know, life jackets on you and all sorts of things. He falls down the river and ends up having to swim back upriver, climb onto the side of the trail, and basically rough it up to the trail, and then continue running, which is incredible. So he goes off course by, I believe, like 40 minutes or something, ends up spending time in miles running off course. By the time he gets back on course, people saw him sitting off to the side of the trail, just kind of like angry, frustrated, but a true testament to his character, which I think is pretty fantastic. Rather than just quitting and giving up, he continued on the course, running when he could, walking when he, for most of the time, thanking volunteers, saying hello to people, smiles. When I saw him late in the race, probably around mile 93, close to mile 98 at Highway 49 crossing, the actual sanctioned crossing, he was all smiles and thanking all the volunteers at the aid station and hugging his crew and all sorts of things. It was really cool. He ended up finishing, I believe, in 20th place or something like that.
There's a question in the chat room from the Mad Scientist. He says, wonder if a pacer would have helped. I believe Jim actually dropped his pacer. Yeah,
Jim had
pacer. He arrived at the river by himself, right?
Yeah, there was a joke in Michigan Bluff where he was talking to his pacer and goes, hope you can keep up with me, or I can't wait to drop you, or something. Michigan Bluff was mile 50-ish or something, just before, mile 48.9, I think, just before Forest Hill. Forest Hill is where he picked up his pacer and sure enough, dropped him because he was moving that fast, which is incredible. So yes, he did pick up a pacer, but dropped him. That is one incredible story.
There's just to talk about that a little bit, there was a question in the chat room earlier. I think it might have been from Randy. They were saying that they had saw the video of Jim kind of getting washed down the river a little bit in the boat coming, and then the voices in the background of the video saying like, don't touch him, don't get in the boat, that kind of thing. So the person that asked the question was wondering, what are the rules? What's the extent of assisting somebody? Like if for some reason Jim was in danger and they assisted him,
I don't know
any of the...
I actually don't know any of the specifics.
Yeah.
I Run Far posted that video of Walmsley trying to swim back upriver, and there is a rescue boat operator coming towards him, and there was yelling, I believe it was from the rescuer, saying, don't touch the boat, don't touch the boat, because I think that technically classifies as assisting. I'm not positive. I like, what's weird is that this is a very similar situation to what Brian had in 2006, where there are some logistics here that may have come into play and would have resulted differently had Jim done something different. Regardless, Jim did backtrack, get back on course, and ended up finishing in 20th place. And he's got a great interview that after the fact, I believe, well, it looks like he's joining through another account. I believe we're going to be joined here by Brian Morrison through an alternate account. I hear him, kind of. Brian, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Am I there?
I can hear you, but I cannot see you.
Huh. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
I had to switch computer. The other one I plugged in and it kept saying it was going to die, and then it died even though it was charging. Let me see. Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. I'll let you know when we see video. We were just talking about Jim. We're going to talk about a couple other stories. It's a good opportunity to talk about these other stories of states. So keep doing what you're doing, Brian. And once you get video, we'll bring you into the chat.
Okay.
We're also I want to talk about Sage. Sage, this is his first time really going for a 100-mile race. UTMB, obviously, he had a really rough go. I'm just gonna mute Brian real quick because I know he's still kind of working on stuff. He had a really rough day. He had stomach issues, essentially from devil's thumb on through the rest of the race. But another testament to his character, he rallied on, vomiting the entire race, but managed to finish in 11th, just outside of the 10th position, qualifying him to come back automatically in next year's race. That being said, Sage is not giving up. I know that he'll be back next year. It's unfinished business for sure. And there will be a video project that I'm doing with him coming up very soon, which is going to be awesome. Another great story, and I haven't met him, Wally Hesseltine. Wally Hesseltine is 72 years old, and if he had finished, would have been the oldest finisher of Western States 100. He finished in the cutoff is 30 hours. So he finished in 30 hours, 1 minute and 55 seconds. Literally 1 minute and 55 seconds separated him from finishing that race and being the oldest finisher of Western States. People have said that will not be his last time running. He will come back next year. And I think that's fantastic and super exciting. And finally, I wrote an article for Strava a week ago about an incredibly inspiring runner named Allison Chavez. She was an ultra runner and an endurance athlete for a number of years, over a decade. And a couple of years ago, when she was training for the Tahoe 100, she was diagnosed with cancer and ended up running the Tahoe 100, was unable to finish it due to exhaustion, but afterwards had surgery almost immediately. And over the next 3 years, ended up going through treatment to cure herself of cancer. And this was her big triumphant return to 100 milers. She got her qualifier at Cuyamaca 100K, which is incredible, and then qualified and got selected by Strava to actually come to the race and run it, which is incredible. She finished in 29 hours, 50 minutes, and 14 seconds. 9 minutes and 46 seconds to spare. Allison is incredibly inspiring, and her story is amazing. Go check out the Strava article. It is up on their blog. Yeah, she's awesome and kick ass, and yeah, totally deserved that finish. I'm going to unmute Brian now, see what he's up to. Oh, it says muted. Oh, Brian, you have to unmute yourself. I don't know if you can hear me. Sorry, I muted you. I think you have to unmute yourself, which is if you just hover the mouse over the dialogue. There you go. So you can still hear us. Oh, there's Brian.
Okay.
Yay! We got Brian.
Sorry, guys.
It's totally okay.
We're in the bunker. We're having total technical meltdowns here.
It's totally fun. It's happened on the show before, and it gave us a good opportunity to talk about other runners of Western States this year that had just incredible stories. So totally cool. Glad to have you back, Brian. We were talking. Yeah, we were talking about just I think before you left about you coming back to States this year.
Yes. So anyways, I really, like I said, I've thought about it probably every day since 2006. Not probably, I have thought about it every day since 2006. And I like the idea of coming back 10 years from the 2006 near finish. So I reached out to Craig Thornley, told him I really wanted to come back, and explained that that this was something really that haunted me. And I felt like I was at a place now, enough time had passed where I was, because I got really pretty burnt out on Western States and training in general. I mean, my racing has kind of been on the decline, I would say, since 2009, 2010. Partly, having a couple kids and business, that'll do it. But I reached out to Craig Thornley and told him that I wanted to come back, or that I would like the opportunity to come back 10 years later. And he responded to me nearly immediately saying the board unanimously decided to grant me special exception and that I would need to qualify like any other runner, which I did at Cascade Crest, and then back to Western States.
So this is, go ahead, babe.
Oh, I was just gonna say we have a couple questions in the chat room that maybe we can take care of before we really get into the race situation for this year.
Yep.
Pete Kresik asked, so did you get in via lottery for 2007 or was it a special consideration?
Oh, that was a special consideration as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yes, I've been lucky with special consideration.
That's a good question. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then Nathaniel Lucafar asked, question for Brian, how has your perception of 100-mile races changed over the last 10 years?
That's a good question too.
Gosh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm good. Okay, I think I'm good. My perception, well, it's definitely like I was at a place where I thought it was all about racing and running fast, and now I've come to realize there's a lot more to running 100 miles than just running to win 100 miles. And now also partly probably because the sport's gotten so fast and I just realized that I can't keep up with it anymore. That's probably partly changed my mindset. But no, there's a lot more to running 100 miles, as anyone who's done it knows, than just going out there to try and win.
There's a good question regarding why did you need the board's decision to be granted entry into this year, and I believe it's because every year Western States grants 1 or 2 entries, usually just 1, that are special consideration entries to Western States. But there's a board of directors that needs to approve it. It can't just be one person going, yeah, you're that special consideration, and it's usually very special circumstances. In which case, Brian's obviously. I can imagine it was a unanimous decision just to absolutely allow Brian to run it again 10 years later. So I believe that's an answer to the question. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. I think that's it.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel really lucky. I'm sure there's it's not like I think my story. I mean, I appreciate that people think it's a great story, but I know there's way more interesting stories out there than my own, and so I feel very fortunate that the board decided that to grant me that the opportunity to run this year. Sorry, I'm distracted. My computer's still saying that it's low battery, and so if I cut out again, I'll get back as soon as I can. It's plugged in. It's never done this. Of course, now when I'm on Ginger Runner,
Right.
biggest moment in my career so far.
Well, close all your applications other than the one you're using currently. Make sure that the outlet it's plugged into works. Make sure it's not connected to a light switch.
Right. I've done that.
Yeah, but it's just, anyways.
We'll blame technology. If for some reason you drop out, you might have to go upstairs and plug the computer in up there and help customers at the same time. That actually be pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
What I think is we still have questions here too. Let's get to some of these, babe, because I know that
Sure.
I was talking.
Question from Dustin Quigley. Brian, how did training for Western States compare now compared to 10 years ago?
Good question.
Yeah. It's definitely different now. I ran a lot more road miles this time around than trail specific miles like I had back in 2006, 2007. Mostly that's just, life with a family. You got to kind of fit it in where you can fit it in. We're lucky in Seattle that we've got some amazing trails that aren't too far away, but you still have to drive to get to many of them. And so you're talking an hour, 2 hours sometimes just in drive time to get out to some of the cool places to run. So more time on the road, though I did still get in my Mount Si ascents, which I think are critical to 100-mile training. And I ran them. I mean, I was a couple minutes off, like 2 minutes slower than 06, but I was feeling really confident with my training, at least on Mount Si, and I'd been getting out for at least one long run a week. I wasn't able to do as much back-to-back big training as I would have liked, but I felt like my training was there. The time doesn't necessarily reflect that, but yeah, it was modified for sure. But I was able to still run lots of 80 mile up to 90 mile weeks. So I felt like my training was pretty solid.
And there was a question early in the chat room of what the qualifier was. And what's funny is it was also Cascade Crest last year, which is my first and only 100 at this point. And it was a terrible year with the storms and stuff. But Brian clobbered me. I think you beat me by a couple of hours, many hours. You absolutely decimated that course. So you had the training. You were well juiced for this. You were ready to go.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I felt like I was in significantly better shape for Western States than I was for Cascade Crest last year. But yeah, unfortunately things just didn't go my way. But Cascade Crest last year was, I think, helped me a lot at Western States. That was, you know, Ethan, you were out there. It was miserable. Borderline hypothermia for lots of people, I think. I mean, I've never been so cold and miserable in my whole life as I was in August last year, which is crazy here in the Northwest. But it was pretty hellacious out there.
Which is funny because it's the complete opposite of what you encountered at Western States as far as temperatures are concerned. Let's start talking about this race. This is your first time towing the line since 2009. What did that feel like? Oh, we lost him. His computer died just as we were getting to the good stuff. I imagine he's going to remedy this in just a second. He'll probably switch back to the other account and jump in.
I kind of want to see him like up in the store, like sitting at the till.
I do too. I think that's probably what's going to happen. He's probably like, damn it, I got to go upstairs. There was many good questions in the chat room. And one of the funniest things, Randy, it was really funny talking about Brian's computer is officially a DNF since it has not been able to finish the episode. Possibly a DQ, but it's not being supported by other computers at the moment. Good
Possibly
one, right?
too soon.
Possibly too soon. Maybe not. Let's give shout outs to the top 10 men and women of this year's Western States, because this is something that we were going to talk about at the end of the show. We'll talk about it now while we wait for Brian to join us back. On the men's side, which is a very competitive race and played out in always very fun and interesting fashion. Off the top, the race was super competitive from the very beginning, but what pays off at Western States is patience. And this year is proof of that. And you'll see just by who finished in the top 10. Andrew Miller, who we haven't had on the show yet, young guy, 20 years old. We've talked about him on the show before, winning numerous Northwest races, as well as the Georgia Death Race this last year for his golden ticket to Western States. Clobbered it. Absolutely did a fantastic job of pacing himself and being patient and just holding on. And he absolutely decimated. First place. Diedrich Hermansen, second place. Jeff Browning, also a former guest of the show many times.
Smart runner.
Yeah. He's so seasoned. He's done 20, I think this is 24. This was his 24th 100. He just knows what he's doing at the 100-mile distance. You never want Jeff Browning behind you because I feel like that means you're going too fast or he'll pass you. There'll be some issues or something. He's consistent. Thomas Lorblanchet, I always say that wrong, did an incredible job representing Team France. Paul Giblin, Paul Giblin was in 5th place. I saw him a couple times. His accent's spot on, and I believe he's a fellow Ginger, which is that gives him bonus points. Really nice dude, nice crew. They were all very nice as they were running on the trail very fast. In 6th place, Ian Sharman, again in 6th place. Ian is another one of those seasoned ultra runners that is just, he's a powerhouse and patient and knows exactly what he's doing. You do not want him behind you because he knows what he's doing, and you might not. Chris Mako in 7th place. 8th place, Kyle Paitari. I'm so sorry.
I could be wrong, but I feel like when Chris Mocha or Maka, whatever, I feel like it was him when he crossed the finish line. The announcer was like, and just so you guys know, he's single.
Oh, really? That's funny. We have Brian back. We might not have video, but we do have Brian back. I can hear him. Brian?
Yeah, sorry guys, I don't know what's going on. I'm on a different laptop now that has a camera, but it's not, it says it's on, but it's not showing me.
It's totally okay. We were joking that your computer DNF'd, but this other computer will at least get you through to the end, which is good. The camera's fine. If you want to hover over the settings wheel, you can check to see if the camera is maybe turned off or something like that. But otherwise, we can go with audio because this, for the podcast, all we need is audio.
Oh, what a disaster. I'm so sorry.
No, it's totally good. It's what happens during live shows. It's totally fine.
On again.
Most people that are watching, though, they don't really watch. They're usually in a porn browser off to the side, and then they just like to listen to the episode. Is that wrong?
No.
Is that not right? Oh, that's right. That's what's happening. So as long as you can hear us.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about what it was like towing the start line. 10 years or since 2009 is the first time towing the start line. Were you nervous? Were you anxious? What was it like looking up at the escarpment?
Oh, it actually felt much the same way it did in 2006. I was, I don't think in 2006 I'd ever felt quite so ready to get a race going, like a just total calmness, really a sensation, not one that I've just not really ever witnessed experience myself. And so it was similar to that. I was just really ready. There was a little more anxiety, and the weight of things were kind of looming over me a little bit. For the most part, the fact that I just knew there was no racing that was going to happen. I just had to get to Auburn. That kind of gave me like a calm peacefulness at the start. And I just really wanted to do everything I could to enjoy the day as much as I could.
Yeah. How did the first miles play out for you? Or was there that sense of excitement as you're climbing the escarpment and all that kind of thing? Or how did the first 20, 30 miles go for you?
You know, the first 30 were fantastic. Kind of just how I imagined they would go. I really took the time to actually look around and take in the scenery, because it's beautiful in those first 30 miles. I don't think Western States, not that it's not a pretty course, but I don't think it gets a lot of credit for being a real beautiful course. But
Right.
Those first 30 miles are spectacular. So I really took the time to soak that up. Whereas years past, I don't think I'd really looked around. I'd just been kind of focused on what was right in front of me. So that was really fun to take that in.
The first time we ended up seeing you was at Robinson Flat. If you want to turn the volume down, maybe one or two clicks, we're getting a bit of an echo on the back end there.
Okay. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
No, totally good. That's better. The first time we saw you was at Robinson Flat, which is mile 30. I think it's like 29.9. It's so close to 30.
Yep.
And we didn't know how you looked, because you were coming in and kind of smiling and cracking jokes, but at the same time, you're also like, I just need ice or I need water. Like there was a bit of misery in your voice as well. How were you feeling? Was it not great at mile 30, or did that come later?
I think mile 30, I was still okay. Yeah, there was probably, it seems to me that just before that aid station started to feel a little warm. So yeah, I think I was starting to feel kind of hot, but more or less I felt pretty good.
When did the badness start to take over? Because I know later when we saw you again at Michigan Bluff, I ran in to film, and I remember coming around a corner and I saw you yakking off to the side of the trail, and you turned and looked at me, and the first words were, "I am so glad to see a face." So what happened between Robinson Flat and Michigan Bluff?
Well, let's see. My stomach just really went south on me. It really started, I guess, leaving Dusty Corners and heading down into Last Chance. I started dry heave a little bit, got that under control, got down to Last Chance, and there was this very sweet woman there, Judy, who was clearly a veteran of the race. She said her husband had run it, I think, 20 times. She's like, you need some potatoes because those will soak up the acid in your stomach.
Yeah.
And here's this and that. And then starting up Devil's Thumb, that's where things, like any climbs through those canyons really were taking their toll on me. The downhills and the flats were fine, but the climbs were really upsetting my stomach, and nausea like I've rarely experienced.
Was that a heat related issue, or what was the cause of all that?
You know, I wish I knew. I think it was mostly a heat thing, but I don't know. Maybe it was mental too. You know, like I told Craig Thornley at the end of the race that Western States seems to really have my number. Like it let me finish this year, you know, but not without taking a big bite out of me still along the way. So yeah, I think it's probably heat more than anything, and maybe I got behind, or I thought my nutrition plan was pretty solid, but something went awry.
It was tough to see you at Michigan Bluff when you rolled in. Yeah, if you want to turn the volume down just a little bit more, I'm getting a little bit of feedback on that guy. Yeah, that's better. So seeing you roll into Michigan Bluff was really tough, just because you came in and you went straight to medics and sat down in a cot next to someone else who was also throwing up. Oh man, yeah, we're getting some echo. I don't know where the feedback's coming from. If you're on speakers, you may have to turn them down a lot.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry.
As long as you can still hear us.
Yeah, as long as you can still hear us. We're just getting
Yeah.
we're just getting a little bit of an echo. But you were sitting on a cot next to a guy who was just throwing up. And I don't know if you remember this at all, but it was the worst sound ever. I can imagine you being very nauseous. You remember you were complaining of nausea, sitting next to someone who's just yakking up everything. And the sound that was coming from him was so terrifying. It was
awful. I definitely
awful.
remember it.
So it was seeing you in that position. Kim and I were like, okay, we need to kind of reevaluate how the day is going to play out and like where we need to film, and maybe he'll hang here for a little bit. Let's just, kind of hold up. So we went to the car to go kind of replace batteries and my camera and stuff like that. Next thing you know, we weren't even a couple seconds into our conversation. You're blasting up Michigan Bluff. You're heading out towards Forest Hill. Like, what was going through your mind that got you up out of that chair and out of Forest Hill? Or I'm sorry, out of Michigan Bluff towards Forest Hill.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess probably partly it was the confidence of knowing that I had sat at Devil's Thumb for a minute, or maybe lots of minutes. I'm not really sure. And even feeling terrible, once I got up and got moving again, I actually felt pretty good. So it was really the confidence of knowing that I'd already kind of been there, worked through that, and I knew I could do it again. And then ultimately just the fact that there was so much riding on this year, to be the year to finish, that, as bad as I was feeling, and believe me, it crossed my mind numerous times throughout the day to just pull the plug and have a cold beer and just be done with it, sit in the AC for a while, kick my feet up. But I think everyone thinks that at some point in a 100-mile race. But this year, thankfully, I was strong enough mentally, and there was enough I felt at stake to just stick it out and keep going, one foot in front of the other.
There's a couple questions that come to mind in this situation. One, with my first and only 100 at this point, I feel like the only reason I was able to finish it was because it was my first, because I felt like, I have so much riding on this. No matter what happens, you just have to keep moving forward. Did you have that going through your mind at all during this year's Western States? Like, this is the one that I just have to complete at all cost.
Yeah, I did. Absolutely. For a lot of reasons. I mean, I had built it up a lot in my own head, the whole 10 years after thing. I think for Andrea as much as for me, I mean, I think Western States haunts me, but I don't think I have any idea really how much it really haunts her too. I mean, for all she knew, seeing me collapse on the track in 2006, I was dying out there. I don't know. I really think she has kind of a PTSD effect almost lingering from 2006. So it's been as much a sort of lingering nightmare for her as it has been for me. Mm-hmm. And I really, more even for her than for myself, I wanted to get it done this year.
We're talking about Andrea, an incredible support team. She was obviously not a fan of Western States in general, just because of the toll that it's took on you and her, of course. But also your mom. Your mom mentioned that she just hates Western States because of the ticket that it has out for you. Was it like, what convincing did it take for you to convince them that you were going to run it again? Or was everyone on board like, this is it, this is the last time, get this done, and then we can be done with it?
Well, yeah, I think it was just that. I think everyone was like, all right, if this is really it, then we're good. Get this done. Like, we're happy to come down and support it, but let's really make sure that this is it, and that you're not and just promise us you're not going to get yourself in a bad place.
So after Forest Hill, that's when you got to pick up your first pacer. Who was your first pacer again?
Oh, Ben Gibbard was my pacer from Forest Hill to the river. It was great.
We've had him on the show before. Mm-hmm. Incredible friend, incredible runner, really talented.
You've paced him before.
I've paced him before. And he is also running his first 100 this year. So this was probably good training for him. What was it like to finally pick up another person that you could run with? Did that help at all? Did things change for you, or was it a pretty rough ride?
Oh, no, that things definitely changed for me. And that was one of the things that kept me going, through Michigan Bluff, dropping down into Volcano Canyon, just knowing that I was going to have company in the back half. And I was really excited for the opportunity to run with both Ben and Morgan. So that was absolutely something that was really keeping me going. And Ben was terrific. yeah, I was in a pretty low point at Forest Hill. In fact, Ben emailed me today and said he never had any doubts about me except when he saw me in the chair at Forest Hill. So I must have looked pretty bad and like I was maybe ready to pull the plug. I wasn't actually. Mentally, I was still in a place where I was going to keep going. I was just trying to, just the nausea was like so intense. I was just trying to stabilize a little bit. But as far as he was concerned, that was maybe the one place I wasn't going to continue on from. But he's phenomenal. Just so good. So he really helped me out a lot.
And he took you from Forest Hill to Green Gate. Did things improve at all at any point, or was it just like that constant nausea, throwing up? And then you picked up Morgan at Green Gate, and did anything change? Did it ever get good? Yeah. Like, did it ever feel good?
I would say somebody asked me after the race, were there points that you enjoyed? And I enjoyed the first 30 miles. And I actually enjoyed a big section from Forest Hill, maybe not all the way to Green Gate because that climb out of the river is pretty tough, but to the river. And partly because I'd always wanted to do the wade across the river. And in 2006, that was a big snow year and a high water year. And we had to raft across the river. So it was, Ben kept reminding me, how good is that river going to feel, huh? And that was one of the things that really kept me excited and kept me going. So for the most part, I did like have some pretty explosive vomiting along the way that Ben had to bear witness to. But for the most part, I actually felt we moved pretty well through there, and it wasn't totally miserable.
I was going to say, I have 2 GoPros. You'll be happy to hear this. Ben carried a GoPro for his duration of pacing, as well as Sage Canada's pacer also carried a GoPro. I haven't looked at the footage, but both pacers told me there is a lot of puking footage on this. You're going to love it. So I have you puking a lot, courtesy of Ben, and I have a lot of Sage puking. So the 2 stories will seem to have very similar parallels.
I have a question for Brian from myself.
You're welcome to ask.
You had a special request for food that you wanted to see at Forest Hill.
Right.
Can you tell our viewers what that was, if you remember? And is that something that you regularly eat when you train?
Sorry, Kim, say that one more time. I'm sorry.
You had a special request.
Sorry, the brats. So there was a little miscommunication over that. I did say that bacon sounded really good, and then Andrea got on the phone with some of our crew, and she said, bacon, avocados, and broth, and they heard brats, and so
oh my God.
David Clark somehow managed to go to a store and get some cooked bratwurst that he brought, which I was like, and Ian, my friend who was crewing also, he took me from Bath Road to Forest Hill. And he's like, yeah, we got some bacon there and some brats for you. And I was like, oh, that sounds terrible. But I didn't want it. He seemed so excited that they had managed to track down brats that that I couldn't bear to tell him that sounded horrendous. But it turned out it was all a miscommunication, because I was like, was I so out of it that I was asking for brats? That's just not something that would be appealing to me while running. But Andrea had said broth, and they heard brats.
They got brats.
Oh my God, I didn't hear that part, because I remember when I left.
You weren't there.
Yeah, when I left Michigan Bluff, it was bacon. I was like, okay, yeah, that's very typical for an ultra runner to be like, oh, I want bacon. And when I dropped you off at Forest Hill, I did not know that they made you brats. That is awesome. Did you end up eating
that was
brats?
something that, I mean, nobody knows it, but that was one of Scott Jurek's big secrets, was brats.
And he's vegan now, which is
as a vegan, but no, not brats, broth.
Broth makes perfect sense. So you come into Green Gate. Obviously, this is it's dark. It's a really tough climb up to Green Gate. This is where you're picking up your second pacer. Was there anything that you told Morgan to get you to the finish, or at that point, did you know you were going to finish? Did you feel any doubt? Because that's pretty late in the race, and you're already moving pretty good still.
Yeah, it's interesting. I told Morgan, I hope you're ready to walk, because there's not a lot of running happening right now. And he said he was fine. He's fine with that. Morgan's just a great guy, super laid back. He's just out there to, to go whatever pace I could go. And I was still pretty confident, or I was confident that I was going to finish. But every now and then a little bit of doubt would creep in. Like, I guess it's just maybe forever going to be this way after Western States in 2006. But just thinking like, oh, could it all come unraveled? Could it just come unglued? Like, I feel fine, but might I just pass out now? Which thankfully never happened. And especially like at No Hands Bridge and going up Roby, because that's really where things unraveled in 2006. So that was kind of not surreal necessarily, but it was just interesting, like sort of actually experiencing that and seeing it and recalling all that again. And it was getting hot again, and I was kind of like, geez, I just hope that I was feeling fine, but it's just like, I hope that I don't somehow screw this up again.
And you didn't. What was it like hitting Roby Point coherent this time? What was that like?
It was cool. And it was actually, it makes me realize how little I sort of remembered. I guess it was dark before too, but I made a point actually to look back down the trail because in 2006, I had somehow convinced myself there was a glow stick hanging in a tree. And I specifically in my memory remember it as a glow stick, but I convinced myself that was Graham's headlight or headlamp, and that he was like, I don't know, 30 feet behind me. And so I made a point to look back down the trail, essentially where that same glow stick was hanging. And because that's one of my last memories in 2006 was, well, Graham's right there. I've just got to put my head down and hammer to the finish. And so yeah, it was really neat. It feels like a long mile, or a long 1.1.
It definitely does. Even driving it or riding a bike or walking it feels incredibly long. I can't imagine after 99 miles beforehand. There was a question earlier about hitting the track, because that's only the second time you've hit the track. The first time of which has, I'm sure, bad memories, if any memory. Was this how was it hitting the track, and who was there to greet you, and how was it to cross that line?
Oh, it was amazing. Basically, I just wanted to do everything opposite of what had happened in 2006. I wanted to be able to remember it. I wanted to just soak it all in. I wanted to be as upbeat and make it as just positive as possible. It was great having Jack and Amalia, my two kids, run around the track with me. There was a moment when I bent over to pick up Amalia and put her up on my shoulders that I started to think like, gosh, what if I cramp or something and fall over as I'm picking her up? That would be not only embarrassing, but also freak people out. But it was great. It was super positive, and it was everything I wanted it to be. The one thing as I came into the stadium, I chucked my my waist light and my two handhelds and the pack that I was wearing around my waist, and totally forgot to pick them up afterward. So.
Oh no!
I have that on. I think I have that on camera. You took it off and you threw it on the outside of the fence. I didn't realize you never got it back. If there's anyone watching that has Brian's pack or waist pack, please send it to Fleet in Seattle, because he lost it.
Yeah, no, just keep it. Keep it as a.
It's covered in brats. So yeah, enjoy that. I thought it was funny as you were running around with Amalia on your shoulders. You were running, and Amalia was on your back just doing this. Like her whole head was just flopping around. And I wanted to say something like, put her down. Like, it looked extremely painful. But then after you crossed the line in 27 hours, 26 minutes, she was so disappointed that you couldn't run the track again. I remember that she was mad at you, right?
He was very upset that, and she's almost 3, so it's a tough age, and she doesn't take no very lightly. Yeah, she wanted a second trip around the track.
Yeah.
And then after that, they actually wanted to race me out on the infield as well. After I had like laid down and took my shoes off, they're like, "Daddy, let's race."
So you have now completed Western States 10 years after your first attempt. How does it feel to have that buckle in your hand?
It feels really good. I've actually thought about that a lot today. I think it'll continue to just feel better as time goes on. There's I hate to even say it out loud because I sort of hate myself for thinking this way, but there is a part of me that I can't almost say it out loud, but I'm almost a little disappointed with my time. Like I really feel like I was in better shape than the time reflects. And again, the big takeaway from the whole thing was to finish, but I thought that 20 to 21 hours was in the cards if excuse me, if things went accordingly. And so there's, I guess, a little bit of disappointment, even though ultimately I'm really relieved to be done with it. And I again, like I don't like myself for even saying that out loud, but it is what it is.
I mean, you're talking to ultra runners. And our audience is a lot of ultra runners, so that's inevitable. Like, I think everyone's going to completely understand. A question that I wanted to ask, and the audience wants to ask: would you run Western States again? Would your family be happy to know that you want to run Western States again?
Okay, well, there's two different answers potentially. I definitely would not write off going back to Western States. My family, outside of my kids, because they don't know any better, no one in my family would encourage me to run Western States again. And Andrea might divorce me over Western States. I think it's that big a deal to her.
I was gonna say, I think I heard Andrea say after the finish line, and we're not coming back again.
Yeah, I've got that on video for sure. This is a question based off of Amalia wanting to run to run the track again. If either of your children approached you when they became older and said they wanted to run Western States, would you allow them?
You mean like when they're 12 or 13?
Yeah, I was thinking like 8 or 9.
Oh yeah. I would. Yeah, for sure I would. Again, that might be a point of contention with Andrea and I, but yeah, if my kids wanted to do that, I absolutely wouldn't hold them back from that.
Well, I have to say, Brian, you have one of the most incredible stories from this race, which is already just entrenched in history. Whether or not it seems like it to you, I know you've been living this story for 10 years, a decade. So I'm not quite sure how special it is to you at this point, but viewers and fans of the story, it's incredible and incredibly inspiring. And to be witness to it this weekend was bar none one of our favorite ultra moments, life moments ever. There wasn't a dry eye in that stadium 27 hours and 26 minutes into the Western States 100 endurance run. And it was a privilege and an honor to be a part of it and to witness it. You really are a hero to a lot of people, Brian, whether you know it or not. And you're going to inspire a lot of people. So thank you for coming back. I mean, thank you for doing it.
That's really kind of you to say. And it was so great having you both there. And I mean, it was a very special couple days and leading up to the race and through the race. And I feel so fortunate. The one thing I expected of myself was more tears at the finish line. Potentially like the vomiting along the way had like dehydrated me to such a state that I didn't have tears left. But I'd really sold Morgan on the fact that I was going to be a sobbing mess at the finish line. And I'm kind of surprised that I wasn't. There were definitely some tears, but I was really surprised that I held it together.
No one else did.
Yeah.
Like, I think all of us and Andrea and yeah, I guarantee you that a lot of us were, the camera work is going to be real shaky at that point. So those of us, or those of you who are going to view this movie later, just, forgive me for the shakiness. That was,
I'll say that my camera work
at
the finish line was.
Yeah, it was pretty prime. There was an earthquake at that moment, though, that explains all the shaking. It's not me crying in the fetal position at the track. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for being on tonight's episode. Thank you for doing what you do. Those who are watching live, if you are in Seattle, go to Feet Fleet, Seattle. Show some support. And Brian, you're there almost every day, right? 6-7 days a week?
Yeah, I'm here most days for sure.
And you are always open to talk about this stuff. I remember people telling me that long ago. Is that also correct?
That is absolutely correct. Again, like I wish there had been a different outcome in 2006. I'd love to have my name engraved on the Wendell Roby Cup, especially seeing that yesterday. Gosh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But I'm still really proud of what I accomplished in '06, and I love telling people about it. So yeah, don't ever hesitate to ask me about it, because it's not something I shy away from talking about.
Cool. I know that we still have some residual questions jumping in here into the chat room. We do a little post show, Brian, where you can stick around as long as you want. I know that your work is still open, so you might have to go work. But if you want to stick around for a couple minutes, we'll just rapid fire those at you.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Sure. Again, I'm so sorry for the technical issues.
Totally fine. Honestly, not the worst technical issues this show has had, if you can believe it or not.
That's correct.
So
that's surprising.
No, the only problem is that the audience had to look at this. Well, you are completely different, but this ugly mug. So I apologize to the live viewers that this is what you have to look at. But the podcast version, which will come out hopefully soon, will be all audio. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about. I have a face for radio, is what I've been told, which is great. Before we move into the post show, of course, Brian, where can people find you on social media? Where can people find you and follow you and ask you questions and stuff like that?
Oh, Facebook, the fleetfeetseattle.com, the website, at FF Seattle is our Twitter. Let's see, we're on Instagram. Yeah, so I don't have a lot of personal, I'm on Facebook, but the store, social media is a great way to reach me.
Cool. Do it, people. And if you're in Seattle, again, show them some support. Go give them some of your business. And I'm going to ask Brian now what I do with every new guest on the show is I have a list of rapid fire questions that I'm just going to fire off at you, Brian. All you have to do is answer with the very first thing that comes to your mind, and let me know when you're ready, and I'll just start rapid fire.
All right, I'm ready. I think.
What was your very first race?
It was a 10K up in Bellingham while I was going to school at Western. I forget the name of it, but it was along the waterfront. Road 10K. Favorite
running movie?
Ooh, I've got a soft spot for the Jared Leto Prefontaine. I had a couple friends in college that both ran at Western that they would watch that movie every night before they raced, and it was really one of probably the first running specific movies I'd ever watched. So I have a soft spot for that. I know there's some controversy over that, the Jared Leto versus who is it, Billy Crudup in the other one, but
yeah. What is your preferred method of travel, trails or road?
Oh, trails for sure.
Favorite place to run?
Boy, anywhere in the Cascades.
Mm-hmm.
Bucket list race?
Probably Hard Rock. Yeah, I'd say Hard Rock. UTMB too is right up there.
Guilty pleasure television show?
Oh, let's see. Murder, She Wrote. Andrea and I watch a lot of old.
Yes.
Yeah,
wow.
I know that was out of left field. Huh? Andrea especially is really into Murder, She Wrote, and it reminds me of my grandma because she loved it, and I love the fact that Andrea loves Murder, She Wrote, and I watch it with her.
Do you eat porridge when you watch it? Porridge and like juice?
Muesli, yeah.
Muesli, Metamucil.
That might have been my favorite.
That is. I'm sorry. I just pulled the headphones right out of Kim's head. I have to agree. Favorite answer to that question in Ginger Runner Live history.
In the
completely unexpected
episodes you've had.
Really, really good. Favorite pre-race meal?
Boy. Yeah, I don't think I have a good answer. I mix it up so much. I don't have any one thing I go to.
Brats. It's brats.
Brats
or broth?
Favorite post-race indulgence?
Oh, a good cold beer. Always it's hard to beat.
And for this one, I'll change it a little bit. It's normally what are your current running kicks, but what were the shoes that you wore for Western States? What was your choice?
The Hoka Claytons.
And they worked out well for you?
They worked out great. I don't think my feet have ever come out of a 100-miler as intact as they were over the weekend. Clayton's
was gonna say,
I never
I was
swapped
filming
him.
your
I was
feet.
gonna swap him after the river, and I never felt the need.
I was filming your feet at the finish line. I was like, oh, let's see the blisters. And you go, I actually don't think my feet have anything wrong with them. Sure enough, your feet were pretty good to go. Great. Before we move into the post show, I just wanted to finish with the top 10 men and women's, because I want to make sure that I get through all of them because they're all just incredible athletes. We left at number 8 on the men's side, Mr. Kyle Pieteri. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it. Christopher Danucci in at number 9, a good buddy, and we got to get him on the show. Danucci, just an incredible athlete, pulled in at number 9. And number 10 was Jesse Haynes, another guest of the show, a friend of ours. Really, really awesome. The top 10 finishers, both men and women, get invited back for Western States next year. It's always fun to see where they go next year. And on the women's side, an incredible women's race. It was incredible to follow. All of these athletes are incredibly talented. It was really neat to see how this played out via social media, because we didn't actually get to see a lot of it. But up front, the nicest ultra runner, and Kim and I are just huge fans of her because she's just so sweet.
And I got to meet her this weekend.
Kim got to meet her for the first time. Casey Lichtai, who's been on the show before, again, just the sweetest person. No one out there that we spoke to, basically no one didn't say that she was their favorite person on the planet.
Everybody was rooting for her.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Second place, Amy Sproston, completely talented, like old school runner, been doing this for a while and just incredibly talented. And again, patience plays off here, and Amy was incredibly patient all day. In third place, Devin Yanko, really strong performance, having early race like setbacks. I know she was off nutrition early on in the race and came into aid stations just like not knowing what to do, and her like crew mishaps, I guess, but she managed to push through all of that and probably use it to her advantage as fuel, but pushed in for third place, which is awesome. Devin, congratulations. Fourth, Amanda Basham, fairly new, I believe, to the ultra scene. We haven't had her on the show before, but she was strong and consistent and patient all day.
Yep.
Alyssa St. Laurent in fifth place. So talented. I think we've talked about her on the show before. She was badass. Megan Arbogast, old school name, has been doing this for a while and just knows what to do.
She got her. Was she the one that got the
10th? I think this is her 1,000-mile finish.
Yeah,
which is just a testament. You got to be patient, and you can do some incredible things. Bethany Patterson and Maggie Guterol were in 7th and 8th. We had them both on the same episode of Ginger Runner Live after the Georgia Death Race. I think this is awesome because they're friends from the Georgia Death Race, and they're already challenging each other like, let's go faster next year and all sorts of stuff. They're both super sweet and awesome. So congratulations to them. Jody Adams-Moore from the Northwest. Awesome to see her pull in at 9th. And in 10th, Erica Lindland, another incredible run for Erica. So the top 10 male and female finishers of Western States 100 this year get to come back next year if they so choose. Incredible to watch them all run. Congratulations to all of you and to all who towed the line in Squaw. It is a race that many wish they could run, wish they could finish. And for those of you who towed the line, congratulations. And for those of you who finished, congratulations. Doesn't matter if you finished in 30 hours or 14 hours or 15 hours. You got that buckle. And Brian, a huge congratulations to you. 10 years after your first attempt at Western States and some really interesting circumstances, you got it, you did it, you put it to bed, maybe for a little bit. But really awesome to follow your story. And there will be a film that I will be editing for Brian. We still have some stuff that we need to shoot, but I'm so excited because I looked at some of the footage, Brian, and like I cry. I'm a crier and I cry looking at the footage because it's emotional and it's pretty awesome. So get ready.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Thank you for being on the show tonight, Brian. Thank you all for watching live tonight. Every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we do Ginger Runner Live right here at youtube.com/thegingerrunner. So please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And if you would like to help keep the lights on and the mics hot, it's pretty much our only source of income at this point. Become a Patreon supporter. It's a lot like Kickstarter, but on a monthly basis, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help keep everything happening here. And basically, our entire trip and all of these movies that are going to be coming out of Western States were funded by the Patreon supporters. So thank you guys. I don't have to go to brands and beg for money, which is pretty cool because then I can tell whatever story I want. And that's pretty awesome.
I also want to say thank you to Sage Canada's mom.
Oh my God, yes.
Who provided the beer. She gave me a beer and we are enjoying it on tonight's show.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, Thank you so much.
Sage Canaday, we'll get him on the show again soon too, because we were filming him as well. And his pacer, Joel, and his parents, they had GoPro strapped on their head. They were filming everything. That one's going to be fun to edit as well. And we'll talk more about that on the show in the future. But a big thank you to his parents for being so awesome and giving us a beer. That was the sweetest gift ever. All right, stick around for the post show. I know that we're going a little bit long tonight. We're going to keep Brian for like 2 minutes because we have some questions that some of you asked earlier. So stick around for that. Here we go, guys, into the Ginger Runner Live post show. Really appreciate you guys tuning in live tonight, guys. Stick around.
Ginger Runner.
Yay. Okay, Brian, we're back. Sorry, I know that we don't have video, but Brian Morrison is still on the line. Brian, do you have like 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. Kim, what did we have? I know we had some good questions.
Yeah, so we have a few questions from the chat room. Finn Mellison asked, what is your post-race meal?
Oh yeah, like what's the first meal you go to after a race? Or do you find yourself having to wait a long time?
Again, I don't necessarily have a go-to, but yesterday we went to this great place in Auburn called the Daily Egg, and I had like a breakfast burrito there that I ate about half of.
Did you bring the other half on the plane with you and eat it on the plane?
I didn't take it on the plane, but I did have some of it cold on the ride to the airport.
Nice. What else we got?
There is a question from JT Mav. Was there ever a point over the past few years that you had given up on trying Western States again?
I don't know that I'd given up on it, but I definitely think there was a period of time where I just didn't know if it would happen again or not. And a lot of that I think had to do with just how hard the race has gotten to get into now.
Good.
Okay. Question from Winston Wong. Question for Brian. Have you had any major injuries during your running career?
Yeah, so really only one. I broke my 5th metatarsal in the enchantments 2 years ago. Rolled my foot, and unfortunately it happened for anyone who's done the enchantments. It's a 20-mile long traverse near Leavenworth. It's beautiful. And I broke it about 10 miles into the 20 miles and had to hike out on it. So I don't really have any residual issues from it. A little soreness on the outside of my foot. Thankfully, I avoided surgery, but that's been my one running injury.
Question from Richard C. Will you be running more 100-milers?
Yeah, probably at some point. It's kind of hard to think about right now. It's just so much work and time that you put into it. And I don't know that it necessarily has to be this way, but it's a pretty selfish endeavor. And there's definitely, Sundays are kind of like the one day that usually I'm not in the store and that I hang out with Andrea and the kids. And Sundays over the last 3 or 4 months have been spent with Morgan and Ben and others just out doing long training runs. And that's great, but it also means time away from Andrea and the kids.
Yeah, well, how's Andrea feeling after this weekend, after you finishing and stuff like that?
We haven't really had a chance to. She slept a lot. Like somehow I got saddled with both the kids on the plane and she slept. Not quite sure how that worked out, but we haven't really had a moment, just the two of us, to really talk. I think she's very relieved, and she keeps telling me how proud of me she is. And yeah, but it'll be fun to like let it sink in a little bit and then to actually spend a little time talking about it.
What have you done with the buckle? Is it going on like a plaque on your wall, or is it going to the store, or are you just wearing it every day forever?
Actually, Jack was insistent that I only have one belt that actually will accommodate an old school belt buckle. So Jack really wanted me to put it on a belt today, which I did. So I took off my Cascade Crest belt buckle and put it on that belt. So I'm actually wearing it today.
Nice.
And did Jack spit shine that for you before you put it on your belt?
No, not today, Kim. It was from yesterday.
That's great. I have footage of Brian's son Jack spit polishing the buckle because he thought that's what people asked him to do. It was really cute because I think, did he spit it or did he lick it?
I think Brian went, "Hey Jack, why don't you give it a little and
Yeah.
like shine it?"
And he just like spits on it. It was pretty good.
Well, and then I think he got a little embarrassed because I was like, "Geez, Jack, I didn't mean to like knock a big loogie on it." He's like, "Yeah, you said." I was like, "I know, yeah." So I mean, it was my doing, but I think he was a little embarrassed when I called him out on it.
That's really funny. Again, Brian, thank you very much for letting us be a part of this journey. Really excited to put together this piece. There's still some stuff that I want to film with Brian, so I'll probably be traveling up to Seattle here very soon. I know that I have a race at the end of the month in the Northwest, Buck and Hell 50K. I'll probably be able to do that along that trip, but it'll be an editing process over the coming weeks and months, and I can't wait to share it with you, Brian, as well as the live viewers. But Brian gets first refusal. He gets to see it first before anybody else. So once that's done and Brian goes, "Yeah, it's good," or "Hey, take out that part where Jack spits on the metal," then I'll post it. But so stay tuned, everybody, and make sure you just subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's the best way to find out about updates and stuff like that. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you?
Facebook.com/milelonglegs, milelonglegs.com. Instagram is KimberlyDT. That's KimberleyDT. And Twitter is milelong_legs.
And Brian, what is your social once again to remind people?
Oh, shoot, I mean, we've got like a store Instagram. You can find it all through fleetbeatseattle.com. I'm so not a social media guy. I'm on Facebook and yeah.
And if you guys,
I don't know,
are
like
in Seattle.
Well, I think the easiest way is if you're in Seattle,
Yeah.
go to Fleet
Yes.
in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm old school, just face to face.
Come say hi to Brian and give him a big hug and kiss him right on the lips.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. I tried. It is terrible. Not the lips, but just don't. I'm going to dig myself a hole. I already dug myself a huge hole earlier. Good laugh. That was a really good laugh. So thanks again, Brian, and thank you all for watching live tonight. I'm going to go take care of this congestion and hopefully eat a real meal tonight. I think vegetables. Our dinner over the course of the weekend consisted of Fritos and cheddar cheese. It was awesome. But there was no sleep to be had. So that's what happens when you are sleep deprived. Yeah, everything's good. Yeah, why not? Thank you again, Brian. It's great to have you on the show, man.
Thanks, Brian.
And thank you all for tuning in live. We'll see you guys next week. That's it. Bye.